Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to introduce our guest to the pre-conference podcast episode. We have Henrik Winberg. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, Henrik.
Yes, you
did. COO of DLAB, our partner at the conference on global network safety and power outage management, which will be happening and physically and virtually in April 7th and 8th. Physically, we will be hosting the conference in Berlin. And right now, we're going to talk a little bit with Henrik about what he's doing, what's the role in the organization, and this is going to be a little prelim of what Henrik will be speaking about. So, Henrik, thank you very much for being the part of this. Thank you very much for joining. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Can you tell us a little bit about your role in the organization and tell us a little bit about DLAB?
Absolutely. So, yeah, thanks for having me here. It's a great pleasure being here. And again, my name is Henrik Winberg. I have been with DLAB a couple of years, and I would say my background is from a wide variety of different industries. And before I joined DLAB, I was quite actively in the segment of, let's call it the industry 4.0, which is a very interesting thing to be working with. So looking at DLAB, I think DLAB started as a research project in the beginning of this decade. And the idea with DLAB, or the laboratory as the full name is, we wanted to find a way to provide a better insight inside a power grid. And today, you know, we have been working with many customers for many years. And I think our solution resides on three aspects. The first aspect is that we want to secure high qualitative data from the grid. The second aspect is we want to transform this data into insights, new knowledge, and things like that. And the third aspect is that you want to transform these insights into a data-driven decision-making. So you see, for us, it is not only important to provide analytics. We want to bridge the gap between what I call the digital and the physical world, where the digital world is basically where the analytics resides and the physical world is where the people are. And we have been working for all these years with grid resilience, and our missions today is that we want to support the DSOs in this energy transition.
Henrik, thank you very much for giving us an intro of yourself, of what the company does. Now, I would like to move a little bit forward, and we have a conference coming up. The conference is going to be about network security and power outage management. And in terms of, speaking about power outage management, how do you see this being an important topic in terms of energy transition? Can you comment on that, please?
Absolutely. So I think that the energy transition is, of course, let's say a huge concept. And I think many people relate the energy transition to renewable energy sources, the electrification of the transportation sector.
One of the people that every time somebody says energy transition, it's always, it's renewable that comes to my mind.
Okay, yeah. So, but in many cases, I think that what you forget is about the grid, because the grid is actually the one that will connect all these different things. So, and for me, the energy transition, what this actually means is that the society becomes much more dependent on energy, right? I mean, in our everyday life, we become much more dependent on energy. And you can just imagine that if you are critically dependent on something, what happens when you remove it? So that's why I believe that the whole concept of outage management is extremely important in this energy transition, because all the outages will have a severe impact and a much more severe impact tomorrow than it was yesterday. So that's why it's important.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great to know that. So, Henrik, we're speaking about energy transition. right? And it's a huge topic, definitely. And there are a lot of schools of thoughts, if you may, right? But in your opinion, what do you think are the major challenges in the energy transition, and what would be the suggestions or the solutions for these challenges from your standpoint?
So I think first of all, the challenge I would say is that it accelerates, right? It happens in a a very fast pace, if you will, and I think you need to abandon the, let's say, sequential thinking that I want to do A, then B, and then C. You should take a more, let's say, a holistic approach and try different things in parallel. And I think we all can agree that it is a matter of acquiring new competences, new knowledge, and doing things in a new way. And I think also it's not purely a technical question, so you need to involve the whole organization. But at the end of the day, it starts with getting better data from the grid, right? And this is what we call the smart grid analytics. And going back to how to overcome the challenges, well, it is a difficult question, and because it's a complex topic. But in my opinion, I think at least two things. So one thing is that since it is a matter of acquiring new competences, doing things in a new way, you need to feel high confidence and high trust in your decision making, in your decision process. And in order for you to be able to feel that comfortable in your decision making, you need to understand that, okay, I'm actually taking the decision based on real and relevant data. So again, going back to the fact that you need good data, otherwise you're fumbling in the dark. So that is one thing. And the other thing is that, again, to emphasize, you need to be responsive to the need of doing things in small steps. I mean, you can start, having this big vision, but at the end of the day, you need to start taking small steps and act today and try different things. So I think that's, of course, there are many other answers to the question, but at least in my opinion, that would be some of the key things to consider.
Henrik, thank you very much. Definitely very useful advice and insightful. Do you mind if we elaborate a little bit on this?
Please.
We have here different sizes of organizations, right? We're speaking about the DSOs in this particular case, right? DSOs, maybe TSOs as well. I don't know if this is also applicable for the transmission system operators.
Our solution, of course, it is, but our solution, I would say that we as a company, we have been focusing on the distribution side. And I can actually take the chance to mention that what we do is we focus completely on the primary substation, which we see is the critical point, or at least one of the critical points in the distribution grid. So that's our main focus.
Okay, thank you for mentioning that. My question is, and what I wanted to elaborate a little bit on, because when we're speaking about the holistic approach, this is more applicable to the larger DSOs, or it is also relevant for the small and medium-sized companies?
That's a very good question. And, looking at our, let's say, user community, our customers, we have both, small customers, and we also have large organizations. And of course, in smaller organizations, sometimes it can be easier to try these new things, I imagine at least. But I still believe the same principles, the same concept goes for any kind of organization, in my opinion.
Henrik, thank you very much for answering. It was very insightful. Definitely, it's good to know that you're out there for any size of the company, any size of the organization. So all the DSOs out there. As I said, I definitely want to squeeze in two or three more questions at least, because it's kind of a build up about what you will be speaking at the conference, and definitely we believe it's going to be very insightful and very beneficial. But spoiler alert here, can you tell us a little bit what is the presentation about, what you will be presenting at the event? Can you give us a little glimpse of that, please?
Absolutely. So yeah, so I want to share the DLAB story, and I want to do it by talking about 4 steps. So the first step is I want to share what we have done with our customers throughout all these years, focusing on the primary substation. What are the proof of values? You know, just emphasizing the importance of focusing on that. That you should focus on the primary substation, or at least you shouldn't forget about the.
Can you repeat the last sentence here? You froze. I don't think we'll edit it out. Can you just repeat the last sentence because you froze?
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, I think what we want to do is I want to emphasize on, you know, the proof of value by focusing on the primary substation. And once you realize that you shouldn't forget about the primary substation, I want to share the need for better data compared to what you actually have today. And the third step is that, you know, a bonus is that once you focus on the primary substation, what we have seen is that then you will get some assistance in how you should prioritize other sensors further out in the distribution grid. So, I mean, you know, you should focus on different parts, but I think that by measuring what we do on the primary substation side, we will also be able to help out how to prioritize to measure on other places in the grid. And then the fourth aspect is about the digitalization. And here I want to approach it with, you know, from 3 different angles, where we first of all talk about the need for small steps, as I mentioned, because today, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you need. So you need to try different things, right? And the third one is that you should abandon, as I mentioned before, the sequential approach. You should try things in parallel. And then the third aspect is what I call user experience. It might not be completely true, but or correct to use the you know, user experience. But the idea is that instead of just showing the data, you need to think about and focus on how you present the data, because it's, you know, it needs to be presented in a way so the organization can actually use it. And that is a very important aspect. So, and that's what we do, and that's what I want to share. And, you know, what we say, we give you the power to act as a DSO.
I'm sure it will be a very interesting and beneficial for all of the audience that will be listening and attending the conference physically. Henrik, before I let you go, I would like to ask you for some key takeaway message from what we talked about, from what you will be talking about at the conference. So any, let's say, you can make 1, 2, or 3 key, let's say, takeaway messages for the distribution system operators here?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, the first thing is that, okay, the changes are happening now. It's very fast. It is an evolution. There is not one person sitting with the whole truth. So I think you need to start challenging existing approaches. And in my opinion, I think there is a lot of, let's call it legacy knowledge that needs to be challenged. Everything starts with better data, so you need to focus on that. And the last thing, and I think this is maybe the most important, is that there needs to be support for different initiatives. And I'm perfectly aware that this support is not only a question for the DSO itself. I think also from a general perspective, there needs to be support from other parts, let's say political initiatives, regulation models, other governmental initiatives. So there are 2 things that needs to work together to, you know, increase this support in trying these new initiatives. I think that's probably what I wanna share.
100% agree. Definitely, it takes more than 1 to tango. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Henrik, look, personally, me, I'm very hyped about your conference presentation because I'm a big fan of the digitization and the transition and data-driven decision-making and real-time data analytics, and reading the data. I am a big fan of that on the personal level, and I assume that, and I hope that my enthusiasm is going to be shared by the audience as well. So I wish you a very successful conference, and see you in Berlin.
Thank you so much. See you in Berlin.
Thank you very much, Henrik. Thank you.
Thank you.